Hi, so for this video we're looking at making the spanner. I shared this image, what I did, and I've had a few people ask me to do this. So what we're going to do, we're going to go to ordered modeling for this. So right click, switch to ordered, or if you've got the UI bar, choose that. And then we're going to go into our variables table, and we're going to go and set up a variable here as size. So that's going to be our size. So I'm going to start with a 15mm, and that's going to be the size that I want on there. And then I'm also going to have length as well. So length is going to be size times 10. So that's going to give us our option on there for our formula in there. Okay. So now we can put size in and L in there. So our first sketch is we're going to do a line. I want my spanner to go front to back on here, so I'm going to go on the right plane on there. When we're in the line command, we can choose an option. If we press the S key, tap it, don't hold it, and then we can go and create a line. That will allow us to go and create a symmetric line. So this part that we create is then going to go and create that line on there. This actually created a little connection on the end that I don't actually want, so I'm just going to escape, come out of the line command, and go and delete that little relationship that that we don't need on the end. So to go, just click on that and go and remove that one. Okay, and then we need to make sure that is L. So if we double click on that, and then the formula is going to be L in there, and that is then going to change the color. That is being driven by that size and that length that we've got. That it could be obviously times 10 minus a certain value if you want to kind of decide the centers, but I'm just keeping the center section roughly 10 times whatever the size we've got on there. So that is going to be length sketch. We don't really need that to change that one. So next I'm going to do the handle shape. So for this I'm going to do another sketch, and this time I'm going to extrude on the XZ plane. So for this, I kind of thought of several different ways of doing this, but what I'm going to do a rectangle. Not going to worry on the size now, maybe about 8mm wide. And then I'm going to go and delete the top and bottom lines. And then we're going to use arc by 3 points. So we can do arc by 3 points, click middle or end, or we can click the end and then we click the middle. I find for this instance that's probably the best option. Do 1, 2, 3 in that one. I use a couple of equal relationships to make sure we've got equals on those items on there. We want our width to be that way. Notice I'm doing between two lines on there, so I'm going to go 8mm on there. Make sure we've got the appropriate relationships in, so it looks as though I haven't got a connector there because it was connected to the horizontal. And then the size that I want on here, I'm just going to do this one on here, and let's go. That can be 2 for now, but really I need that. I want that to be linked to the size, so that's going to be size divided by 8. So if we double click on that, that can be size divided by 8. And that's going to give us a size on there, and that's going to be, let's go, size divided by 2 on there. No, size times 2/3. Okay, we can always go and change these formulas later if we're not happy with these. And then that radius, that can be, let's have a look what we can do on there. Let's try size. Just have that as size, can't we? Straight. Okay. That's not a bad handle. We'll put the rounds in externally. So that's got our profile on there. And then finish. So that one, sorry, I should have renamed that one. I'm just going to call that handle. That's referring to the handle profile. Next, I'm going to have a look at creating the open end on here. So I'm going to do a sketch. This time I'm going to go on the XY plane. What I'm going to do, I'm not going to bother worrying about creating this at an angle straight away. I'm going to go and use another feature later on, so it allows us to go and change the angle quite simply on here. So here, I want a line symmetric on there, so that's going to be our open end. I'm going to do a arc by 3 points again, so I'm going to start over there, connect over there, and then go over there. Make sure you get your horizontal and vertical between the two on there. So that should be linked. Also make sure that it's connected. The silhouette point, if silhouette point isn't on, go into here and make sure you've got silhouette point turned on. And then we're going to connect that to the end of that. And then I'm going to go and set the radius of that arc. So let's just get 10 for this one. And then we're going to go and create a tangent arc from here. So I'm going to go and create a tangent arc over here, and then the same on this side. Again, I'm going to do a horizontal and vertical between there and there. Okay. So this line, so if you're doing a 15, I'm going to go say 19 on there. So we're actually quite a bit smaller than I really wanted on there. So I'm going to go and do, let's go, I want it 15 deep and say 8 mil. So that way, let's go 23 on there. And now let's go and let's change that to say 18. See what that looks like. Before I do that, just do a go back on there, and let's go and do a radius on there. Let's go and do 8 on there. Not too bad. I want to do an equal on those two as well. So we need the one dim. Let's change that to 20 and see what that looks like. That's not kind of how I wanted that. So what I'm going to do instead, I'm going to go and do a dimension here. Let's go and change that. And then let's go and do a dimension to here. And let's see how far we can go with that one. So now I want the other one to be about 8, so I want that to be about 15. That to be about 8. And then that radius about 20. Maybe a little bit less. Let's get that shape looking right. Let's try 13. Yeah, 13 doesn't look too bad. That radius needs to be a bit higher. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a slight little change on here. I'm going to remove that. Let's go and try changing that to 10 on there, maybe a little bit more. And then this time I'm going to go and create a angle relationship on there. So if we click on there and press A, that's going to give us a sweep angle. So say I want 35-degree sweep on there. And then I'm going to do another arc. So I'm just going to choose the tangent arc. Start from the end of there and go to the end point on there. Same on this side. Okay, so that's our rough shape that we want. So if we do go and make changes, so if I go and change that to 14, that's going to go fatter. Go and reduce this size to go and bring that down, and then go and change these so we can work on the shape that we want on here. So I'm going to go a little bit lower on there, a little bit higher on here. And again, reduce that radius a little bit on there. Let's go and make this a little bit bigger on there. Let's try reducing this one a little bit to get the shape a bit better. There you go. That's kind of got the shape, almost like a wine glass kind of shape we're after. So where we've got the points where we've got the cutout, we've got a nice wide thick section on there. Okay, so I didn't do that dimension, so let's make sure that one was 19. Okay, so that's all ready to go. This could all be linked via size. That could be size plus 2, that could be size plus 8, as I said, or size times 1.5, something along those lines. but that's something that we can delve back into later. So now we've got that sketch, I'm going to close that sketch and then finish. And then the next sketch we're going to put on this end, and this is going to be the revolve style section. So on here, I'm going to choose sketch, go on the YZ plane, and then to start off with, I'm going to start a line. I'm going to do a line going up from the end point of there. If you don't catch the end point, just make sure you get that end point. I'm going to do an angle dimension, so you can press Smart Dimension and press the A key. That will then give us an angle, so we can decide what kind of angle we want on there. So typically you do 15 degrees. And then on here, I'm going to, so this line is going to reference the overall size. So this is going to do, I'm going to go size times 1.5. And then I'm going to do a line from the center of there, from the midpoint. I'll do a symmetric line. And that's going to give us our thickness. I'm then going to do 2 lines down. So right click to finish that first line. Connect that line on there. And then I'm going to use a arc by 3 points again on here. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and then the end of that line. You can see it's the end of that line because it highlights orange. So you know that you're connecting to the end of that line. Just make sure those two are equal. So we'll just use the equal command on that. I want this height. So for this one, I'm going to go, so let's go 8 on there. Notice we haven't got a connection on here. So by making that change, it's showing that we haven't got that connection. And then that radius, I want to be the same as well. I want that to be 8. So I'm going to, this one, add a little bit of intelligence. So I'm just going to say equals in the formula, click on 8, and then accept. That's going to give us the kind of shape that we're after on there. So this size, obviously we've got 22.5 being referenced on there. That probably needs to be a construction line because we don't really want that to be there. We could have also shown that as a symmetric diameter, so we can click on there and then click on the point on there. That will show the symmetric diameter. A couple of different ways we can work with that, but I'm kind of happy with that the way it is. So if we close that sketch, we can then go and start creating the bodies for this. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to extrude this end. So I'm going to extrude that end. I'm going to do a symmetric extrude. So the right hand option on there. And let's go 7mm. We can always go and change that. It looks a bit thick actually. So I'm just going to use the dynamic edit in the finish to go and change that. This one I'm going to do a revolve. So I'm going to choose the revolve command. Choose a sketch, accept, choose the axis, and then go and click on the, I was called the 360 donut icon. That then gives us our 360 on there, and then we can finish that. If I do need to go and make a change, maybe that looks a little bit thick, I can click on there and go and say, actually, let's go and change that size on there. Let's go and change that 8 to 7. For some reason, I'm struggling to select that. So let's go 7 on there. That looks okay for that kind of size. And then next we're going to do an extrude. We're going to choose this profile. So if you don't get select from sketch, you can just you can click in there and use the arrow keys to go up and down. Actually, just go up for select from sketch. So chain, that's the option we've got on there. Again, we can use the letters, the capital, C for chain, S for single. If you need to go and switch through those, accept, and then we're kind of tempted to just go, that's where I want to go, but I don't really want to do that. I want to do 2 extents, and I want them both to be this from 2 extent. So if we choose that one, so my first one, my first direction, I want to go to there, and then my second direction, I want to go to there. So it's going to go and take that to those surfaces. I can then finish and cancel on there. Okay, so we're going to do rounds later, so I'm not going to go and worry about these. So the next one, I'm going to do the cutout on this side. So actually, I'm going to do that cutout in a sec. So what I'm going to do, I actually want to go and move that item around. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do a go back on there. So I'm going to go back to that feature, go to. I've got that as a F4, so that's it's an empty key. So that's quite a nice one. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this little drop down on here, rotate faces, and I'm going to go and choose that feature. And then I'm going to go and choose that on there. I want to kind of rotate around there, and then rotate it that way, 15 degrees. Okay, and then finish on that, and then go back to that feature on there, and just use your go to get back to there. So it's a good idea now to go and turn these sketches off. So we've got that rough shape. So that's quite useful. So next, I'll do a couple of cuts, or 3 cuts, to go and represent these. So for this, I'm going to do a cutout. I'm going to do 2 lines going down, and then people are probably guessing what we're going to do, but yeah, we're going to be using arc by 3 points again. It suits what we're doing here quite well. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to dimension this up. So the overall depth on there is going to equal the size. So if we double click in there and input size, there's a value on there. The distance that we want here between these two, so that again is going to be size. Okay, for this one it's easiest if we just do a horizontal vertical between there and the center point on there to keep that centered on there. And then the last dimension to get this fully constrained is this one. So this one, I'll do size times 0.8 on this one. You can see kind of what that looks like. So that's going to give us the appropriate kind of option on there. That looks pretty good. So we'll close that sketch. It's an open sketch. It's going to ask us for a direction. So we're going to have an arrow. Do I want to cut inside, outside? I want to cut that way. And then because we've done this previously, we need to go and change this to through all, and then make sure that we go down and then finish on there. It's quite a nice little profile on there. Once we add some rounds in those corners, it's going to look much nicer. So next we're going to do a cut here. We could do a 12-sided cut in one go, but I find it easier if we just do 2 hexes in 2 separate cuts on here. So we've got our polygon by center. So we can decide what we want. So I'm going to go and choose, my first polygon is going to be orientated this way. So I'm going to go and place that polygon, dimension that up as 15. But obviously that needs to be size. So if we double click on that and call that size, and then we want one of these lines to be horizontal. So that's now fully defined. We can then close sketch and do a through all on there, and then follow the same process again, apart from draw it at a slightly different orientation, so we get those other options on there. Okay, so I'm just going to go and place that one horizontal, vertical that way, dimension the circle, and double click and size, and then go again down through on there. So that is our rough kind of shape on there now. So that's looking pretty good. So the next step is to think about our rounds. So our rounds, we can select these options, but I actually want to go and create the 4 rounds on here first. So for these, I'm going to do a 1 mil round on these. Again, this can be changed depending on that size value that we've got. But for this size one, this works nicely. Okay, I'm going to come out the round so it creates that as a separate round. I'm not going to create multiple rounds in the same option. I'm going to do a 5 on there. Maybe I can go a little bit bigger. I'm going to have a look, see how far we can push this. So 10 works on that side. Let's see if it also works on this side. Works on that side, so that's fine. That looks quite nice. So let's accept and finish that one. So next I want to go and add a couple of smaller ones on here. So I'm going to do a 2, and I'm going to go to there and there. That's pretty much all I want to be 2 on there, so I'm going to accept that. Let's have a look what else we can do on this end. So let's do a 5mm on here. See what that looks like. That looks pretty good. It looks like we'd expect. Okay, next I'm going to go and put some. Actually, let's carry on and let's do a small round on this edge on there, on that one and that one. Okay, we also want these ones to be 0.5 as well, so I'm going to go and pop these 2 at the same time because they're kind of part of the same group. I'm going to leave the other ones at the moment. Okay, so for next I want to do some little chamfers on these. So to get these, I'm going to do chamfers on these edges, but because we added these rounds, we should have added the chamfer previously. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to round 4. So if we've set that F4, it makes it much easier. And if we go and choose the chamfer, so for this one I'm going to do a 0.5, and I'm going to choose that edge and that edge. 0.5 is a little bit too big actually, so I'm going to go down to 0.2. 0.2 looks a bit small, so let's go with 0.4. That looks quite nice. And then accept. And then whenever you go back on a feature like this, just kind of double check that everything looks right again. So we've got the chamfer, we've got the rounds, we've got everything coming together on there. It might be that we want some really small rounds on these as well. So think about creating some really tiny rounds on these to make those safe. So I'm just going to do a 0.1 just so we haven't got a sharp edge on those. And then this side, what we're going to do, we're going to do some small rounds, 0.2. This time we're going to select the features that we want. So we're going to choose feature on there. Notice we can select when we're in this box. So if I'm on chain, I can press the F key to switch between face and feature, S for single, C for chain. So if we make sure we're on feature, and then we need to hover over here and we need to find the 2 cutouts, and that's then going to go and add those to that feature. Let's just go and see what this looks like on the different sizes. I kind of quite like it a little bit larger. I might even go 0.5 on there. Let's go to 0.5, and there we go. That looks quite nice for that. Okay, so that is our initial spanner finished. What we'll do later on is we'll go and have a look at using family of parts to go and customize this spanner, and how we can go and put imaging on, referencing what the size is on there. Okay, if we do go and change the size initially, we haven't linked everything up, so it's not going to work exactly the way that we would expect. That's where family of parts comes in, because it allows us to go and change those sizes on a per item basis, rather than trying to come up with a really clever formula to make sure that everything sizes perfectly where we don't necessarily want it. We might want these to be 8 every size from 15 up. We might want these to be 5 every size down till we get to 9, and then it wants to be 3. So we can go and we can go and decide on what items we want. So what we're doing later on, we'll go and we'll do a 7, a 10, a 13, a 17, and a 22 or something. So we'll go and create those different sizes. Okay. Hopefully you enjoyed that. Thank you.